there's one factor that I've analyzed, I've examined, that can be a stumbling block, or that is a stumbling block for the Nupresentation. Was a stumbling block too for the corporation, for the fake corporation, and it still is. And it is this fact of spiritual slavery. Spiritual slavery, I don't know what obtains in the other countries, but in Africa, there is this behind the scenes slavery which is perpetrated. After my commentary, you're going to say something about this, how it takes place, with a form of illusion that people are placed to something like that. For instance, there's the practice where people sell others to go and work for them so that they get money. And maybe your brother can sell you, or a son can sacrifice the father and the mother, the friends, go and be working, bringing him money. There is staged in such a way that a vehicle can have an accident, and all the people targeted for slavery to be sold die in that accident. Then they are buried. They are buried. You see the bodies mangled, they shattered. But it seems all it's an illusion that has been created. The person is, they are buried with all the funeral rites. People know that this person is gone, and but he's not dead. And there is one case of somebody who died in one part of Cameroon, died in the northwest region. In those days when communication was yet undeveloped, and he was buried. His family knew that he was gone away from them. Then was actually the coastal city of Victoria working. To work all day, and by night will be turned into a goat and tethered under a tree. And by day he will become a human being and will be working round the clock, very strenuous jobs and all that, like looking for money to go and give master who sold him to that kind of slavery, until one person came, a medicine man from that village, came and recognized that guy who had died in the village. He saw that he was actually still alive and working. So they mobilized and came, called some other strong men, and they caught the guy before he could disappear, because those who have sold you, they have that kind of voodoo where they can make you disappear in a flash. So they caught the guy, and he wasn't able to disappear, and they took him back to the village where he he lived until he died. He saw his own grave and all that. And so it takes place. This practice is in many parts of Africa. This kind of spiritual slavery, where because of material concerns, people will sell others off. They will sell friends. They will sell relations, all the like. And this has a direct bearing on the Nupresentation. When something like the Nupresentation is when it comes out, the open, people say, "Oh, maybe these people are looking for people to sell into slavery." So you go and join that thing. Very soon you are gone, and you'll be working for them. You'll be working, and they are taking the money. So this is one of the barriers to the Nupresentation there. Those who are actually on the field, they have a hard time explaining themselves because of this kind of practice that many parts of Africa are engaged in. Selling of people to go and work for them so that they can have money. So I want to ask, what kind of mechanism, what kind of thing is this? Is there a world in which these people live? In fact, I don't know, Duane. Maybe you can throw some light on this kind of spiritual slavery. Maybe looking at it from the real side, you can actually explain how it goes. Because I can tell you frankly that it impacts the Nupresentation in Africa, and that those on the field have a hard time, always do, explaining what the Nupresentation is about. They just think that we are just lions in sheep clothing, and very soon they'll be sold off and will become very rich. Like some people are already accusing Mariam that, oh, her voodoo is very strong, and we should be careful. They should be wary of her. Don't go near her because strange things might happen to you. So what can you say about this kind of spiritual slavery?
Well, that's interesting because, again, we're in creation. Everybody creates what they do. And there are many created dimensions and portals into these dimensions. And some people are very aware of this because that's their focus. It's like the reptilians can shapeshift because that's been their focus. If I wanted to, as an example, there's a show on Netflix called Iron Fist, and this kid was taught about the monks or the Buddhists or whatever, it doesn't matter, okay, a certain way to do certain things. Well, I could go off and do that too. And that's what Jesus did for a while. He went off to the mystery schools. That's the 12 years or so he was missing, and he gained psychic abilities. Anybody can do that if you focus on that. I can focus on that. I can focus on the business world and become rich, according to the business world. Whatever you focus on, you can do it. If you want to focus on being multidimensional, if you want to focus on the UFOs and the aliens and time travel, you can do it. They're already doing it. Things are happening all over the world, etc. But I focus on bypassing all of it. And so again, we've had people come up to where they've been sharing their experiences, where they have an opportunity, as an example, to know all the knowledge in creation. Well, goody. The thing being is that they've also been told that they're going to get themselves in trouble because they're not ready for it. And for the most part, those people that really want that, those are the people that are going to get themselves in trouble. And it's just like a teenager wanting to drive the parent's car. Oh, Dad, let me drive the car, please. What do they usually do? They go out there and they're reckless and they get themselves in trouble and they get everybody else in trouble. See? Me, I never chased that, basically. I never did. Yes, I went through some things in the earlier years, played around with it, and realized, no, this is nothing. Because what surpasses all of it is the recognition and the perceiving the all is. It supersedes it all. And with that, anything that I need to know in creation, I will. But the thing is that I don't need to manipulate anything, because it's not about manipulation, because then you're interfering with people's free will. And the slave trade that you're talking about, I'm very aware of that. That's all over the world. That's huge business. And a lot of that goes to the reptilians, because they kidnap children and whatever and sacrifice them and eat them, is what they do. That's just very, very real. So we have created a position here where it allows people the opportunity to wake up and learn to protect themselves. That's what we're really doing. We're like a protection service, but each person has to learn that for themselves. Why do people go through the military or police training or anything like that, or be a security guard, whatever, or take karate lessons? Because they want to protect themselves. And so what we're doing is, and yeah, in the meantime, you can do that too. I would even suggest it. You know, if you live in a particular area, whatever, well, you live on the earth anywhere, you need protection, you need to wake up. And when you make a credit card purchase online and it says, oh, this system is secure, okay, secure by who? That's a fallacy. There's no security here. But you can pretend there is. So again, what they're doing, what your experience is very real. It happens all over the world, not just in Africa, but you're seeing it more so there because you know Africa. But everybody creates dimensions. They can create anything they want, just like we create things here. And through their thoughts and minds and feelings, they create different dimensions, and then they can move into those portals. You see, they're just moving into their own creations or the creations of others. Yeah, that's where it's very real. So again, it's what the people focus on, but most people aren't aware of that, so they're subject to it in a particular way. It just depends. And so they decide if they want to get away, because you know, the world itself is mainly based upon black magic, is what it's based upon. Nothing beneficial, because you see how it is. The natural environment that supports everything, where the animals and the birds and the fish, etc., there's the natural environment. See, they're just going along with their natural environment. And that is their experience. Now, what's taking place with the slavery and all that, that's interference. And this is where things get all screwed up. And so people are creating situations there. There was another show on Netflix called The Magicians. And it was a bunch of these kids that wanted to be magicians. And so they had to take a test to get into a particular school, etc. So I saw parts of the season. It's a very good objective view. But for the most part, all they did is get themselves into trouble, because they went further and further and further into the black magic of things. And it just got worse and worse and worse and worse. They were looking for a resolve. They were looking for the answers, certain kinds of answers or whatever. They never found them. They don't find them in phenomena. And so the systems that are here, basically black magic, they look good. But they are. But yeah, anybody can create. You can do it too, if that's what you want to do. But I don't want to do it. I don't want to interfere with others. I just want to bring something out that makes sense, so people can surpass all of the effects and then learn to handle the effects in creation. Creation is fine. Creation is fun. But to be the unconscious effect of it continually, again, that's choice. It's better to have a real view of the real awarenesses and the all is, and at the same time be able to handle creation. Yeah, from a total view. And so it's harder, you might say, because of what we have to go through. But really, it's very simple. It's very simple and direct. But it's harder simply because most people are more interested in their personal self. They put themselves in the way, and that's the stumbling block you're talking about in the beginning. Yeah, the corporation is a stumbling block. We're not a stumbling block. And I don't see anything. I don't care what people think about us. They can think whatever they want. You see, by the very fact that people think whatever they do about us, they've created their own dimension of dementia. That's it. It doesn't affect, it can, if they want to get physical, yes, that can affect it. But for the most part, these are thought forms. And they just dissipate like fog in the sun on the real side. Yes, we do go through the effects of them, but again, it's okay because it's like batting practice. You go out there and you keep practicing. So that's what we're doing. See it like that. You're constantly practicing. It's not that you're going to get rid of every mosquito on the earth so you're not bitten. No, there's always going to be something. Then you just learn to deal with it, is all. And so these situations happen, and they're going to continue to happen. All right, it's not going to stop. We're not going to alleviate anything. So it's best to keep presenting the new you, so people become more aware, so they have the advantage to agree with something that makes sense instead of the old stuff that doesn't make sense. And most of it is just sound good stuff. But it is that recognition. When you have the recognition of the is and the isness, if you focus on that, that will supersede everything. And yes, you're still going to have to go fill out a resume if you want a job. Of course, you're going to have to move your hand with the pen in it. Yeah, that's a physical thing. But you're going to have the awareness to see through everything. You're going to have a bigger picture. But it takes a while to see that. And at first, it's actually, to the personal self, it's rather boring. Yes, it is. But after a while, you're going to get to a certain point where you have this great view, and you're going to start to see it. And then you're going to even go further into it. And as you go further into it, you might say, this endlessness, you're going to see it more and more and more. And you're going to see that it supersedes everything. And that you don't need the particulars, but the particulars then will come to you. You see? You'll reach that point where it all comes to you. But you got to get there first. And so you've got to go through the nonsense that's affecting you. If you've been wearing dirty clothes all your life, you got to take them off. You got to be a little exposed. And you got to stick them in the washer or take them down to the stream and wash them. You got to create your own new life. That's just very, very real. And so again, all these little ideas that we've come to know where we think that someone's going to do it for us. I can't do it for anybody. I can stand real with somebody, etc. And if there's healings or whatever to take place, really each person heals themselves. So if you got to take pills or herbs or medication or whatever, you do it. You do whatever you do. I've been through all of it. And you gain that experience. You see that. It becomes a comparison. It's all okay. But to live on substances alone, no. You can't eat Doritos all day long every day. Okay, that's not going to do it, even though they taste good. Okay, and sometimes you want good tasting things. But does it make sense? Is that nutritious for you? Is that healthy for you? So you learn to wake up from these things. You go through all this activity, etc. But this dimensional stuff, yeah, it's scary stuff because people, and the dimensions they create, just like you see in the movies, they're usually psychotic dimensions, just like cyberspace becomes psychotic. You see people are interested in virtual reality. It's the same thing. And where does that really turn to? That's a mechanism that's controlled. Like everything here is controlled. And people think it's a thrill. But it has nothing to do with their real awareness. And what they're doing is they're creating other dimensions they don't realize in a cyberspace factor, which is just like this dimension here. We're in cyberspace here. Creation has its essential, But if people continue to create distortion within creation and agree to it, then that's where they are. It's just that simple. So it's learning to see through it. And yes, it is a huge challenge. But if the person doesn't do it, then they don't do it. And life itself is not going to do it for anybody, nor are the gods of man. The gods of man could care less. And the systems here that promise you all that they do, they're going to deliver on their promises, but it's going to be for themselves, and you're going to be their slave. So what options do you have? So whatever people consider about what I'm presenting or whatever, that's part of the challenge too. I'm fine with the confrontation because it all creates a comparison that ends, the end result for me is a greater focus to the isness. So I'm fine with it. And so once you understand that, once you see that, you'll be fine. But to get that across to people, for them to actually do it, that's huge. It's like getting a man to, jump out of an airplane his first time with a parachuting. That's huge. There's fear factor there. And basically it is the fear. The reason people criticize us or whatever, I understand it's fear. Because they're afraid not to agree with what has been holding them back. You see, just like the people in the corporation, they're afraid to see what's there. You see, they don't want to see it because they're afraid. So they need something to reject, you might say. So, that's us. They'll just reject us. They're right, we're wrong. That's how the world is. It's basically black and white. Well, that's not us. We're real. We're wonderful. And so we supersede all that. We really do, but they can't see it. If they can't see it, they can't see it because it's the real seeing. It's the real recognition. It's a real perceiving. Yes. It's a position all its own. Yes, they do have experiences, and they'll have experiences with some of the boys or whatever because the boys are trying to wake them up. But they're not really seeing the experiences. They're just having experiences. And those are basically suppressed too. Because they don't want people to be multidimensional. They want them to be one-dimensional in control. That's why it's all taken how it has with Joni controlling it, with the priest idea and the worship and prayer. Well, she's got them sacrificed, totally sacrificed, and they're willing to do it. It's their choice. And so they're creating scary dimensions that they think are so cool, but they're not. Yeah. So again, it's anything. It's just like Jesus, like the sayings of Jesus. I don't know if Jesus said it or not. It doesn't matter. Whatsoever man believeth, so be it. So you can believe anything you want. Belief has its factor in creation, but compared to reality, there's no such thing. Compared to the sun, there's no such thing. But when you're looking on the earth and you're talking to other unaware people, belief is a big deal, and it works accordingly. It does. So you decide your position. And so again, most people do not recognize what the sun demonstrates. They really don't. They see the sun, but to them it's whatever. And they like the sun. Well, that's cute. But it's the recognition, and from there to recognize the all is. So I use different things for my personal self as a means and a reference. But I also recognize that's not the true reality. It's more so than that. And again, each person demonstrates themselves. And it's not that each person that has demonstrated themselves recognizes the is. No, I see that. It doesn't mean that. But at least they're making the effort to recognize the is. That's what counts. Yes. And then there are those that don't, but only think they do. There is a difference. So, yes, all these things that we've mentioned here, Charles, this is part of the challenge, but it's a benefit. All of it is a benefit. It's not negative. It's not negated. It's all a benefit because it should motivate you to see the is, because all of a sudden you see that what is taking place here has no real value, but the is does. So then you take the time to recognize it, and you do whatever you can creatively to do so. And you create your own references and whatever. And see, these were kind of the ideas that Paul created, but what Paul created really had nothing to do with the is. He created the first step. What Paul created, if you really look at it, was basically getting out of your body and just simply seeing. The first part is recognizing and having the experience that you're more than the physical body. That was the first step. That's what Paul was doing. He was doing bilocation, astral projection at first, then he called it soul travel. And he specified it only works in the lower worlds, but everybody wants the thrill of soul travel and getting out of their bodies, and it is fun. But you do it all the time. Everybody does it, they just don't recognize it. But because it's all here and now. And it's not a projection of anywhere, it's just simply a recognition. And so these were the first steps. So he gave different techniques. Paul gave many different techniques. He called them the spiritual exercises. And they were just to get the person to be objective about the personal self. In other words, pop out of your body, turn around, look at yourself on the bed and see that you're not just the body. But these experiences come and go so fast that still when the person comes back into the body, you see, they're thinking in terms of projection. You see, oh, I must project. And so they're thinking in terms of placement from here to there, and that is not recognition. That is just placement. Time travel is not recognition, and actually, there's no such thing as time travel. You don't travel anywhere. All life is here and now. You have the created assumption that you're traveling in time, and you are actually experiencing other dimensions that already exist, that are already so-called in creation. That's what you're experiencing as time travel. All the events that have taken place are like different plates, you might say, or different layers that continue to exist in creation, just like the files that we have on our computer. As we make one file and another file, pretty soon we got 10, 20,000 files. Well, they're still in the computer, they're still in cyberspace. Even when you erase them, they still exist somewhere. You see? They do. They exist in creation somewhere. And you can find them. They may not be mechanically on your computer or your hard drive, but they still do exist. And just like everything else, this is what's time travel. So everything that can be considered or will be considered or was considered already exists. And so that's time travel. And so for me, it makes more sense to take the time to recognize the true reality instead of the phenomena that is created that we think is real. And so again, the spirit thing and whatever, you're just dealing with astral forms and the light that people see religiously or whatever. It's just the reflective light off the astral and mental worlds is all it is. It's not the real light, and it's basically knowledge. It comes down through creation as knowledge. Creation holds the knowledge, but in the real universes, it's a true isness, it's an aliveness. You don't need knowledge there. You don't need your imagination. You don't need all these things. In creation, we have the knowledge. It only pertains to creation itself. So if you want to stay here and have your business, well, fine, that's knowledge. And yes, maybe it's a good idea to belong to something that provides more knowledge for you so you have a better view, but that's all it is. It all pertains to one dimension. That's it. And there are endless dimensions. On the earth here, one of the sayings in the Bible is, the kingdom of heaven is spread upon the earth, yet man cannot see it. And that implies that everything is here and now, and so all the dimensions that you want, that according to anything that you want, already exists. You just have to learn to see it. So there are portals everywhere. You just simply recognize where they are, and you can move into another position. But keep in mind, just like the show in The Magicians, if you don't know how to get out of that, then you can also be trapped in that. And many people that do astral projection, that cord can be cut and the physical body dies. They don't understand that. And so this is where people many times are, they're abducted or what have you, and there is a shield, there is a barrier put upon the memory of that, etc. But some people have it consciously, and eventually, it can seep back through, etc. But again, yes, all this is taking place. But as we keep focusing on these things, we use them as a reference, and they are taking place. But it makes more sense to have this recognition of this isness more so a reality than these things that we've created thinking that they are bigger than the whole of life itself. So we see everything for what it is. And again, creation has its purpose. We have children, we have relationships. Yes, they have their purpose. Life is bigger. But you must decide that. So yes, the challenge is here, Charles. The challenge is here like never before to bring it out real, and there will be huge resistance. But that resistance will help perpetuate what we're doing, because everything that they so-called negate about us, they're only perpetuating what we're already doing, because now it's real, you see? And so it will only market us more, it will only perpetuate it more. That's the advantage. I don't see any stumbling blocks or negativity. The thing being is that I don't see that at all. I see it just perpetuating us to where there will be so much agreement that, become invulnerable. It's so cool. I already see it. It's already done. You decide to step in it or not. Thing is that, but everybody else with their little business plans and their little ideas, have fun, because it's only going to go where you decide it goes, and it's really going nowhere. So we do the same things while we're here, but at the same time, as you bring this real awareness in, as you have the courage to do so, it takes over, you might say. It takes over. So it's like standing out in the sun, It's just great. It's everywhere. The sunshine is everywhere. And that's how I see us. I see this isness as everywhere. And there's a huge difference from the time that Paul was here with the rod of power to where there is no more rod of power. The new wave is the isness. Life is. It is everything.